And so, when you go to somewhere like the Quail at Pebble Beach and you see all these car launches, you've got Bugatti and you've got Pagani and you've got the McLaren and this and that. And it's the same 300 or 400 people globally are buying every one of those cars. And they're all buying all of them.
Interesting.
So, the average like Bugatti owner is like 85 cars.
I didn't realize that was an average for a Bugatti owner, so I'll have to look that up next time.
And it's skewed by a couple. Yeah, it's skewed by a few people that probably have a few hundred cars.
Wow.
So it's the real, if you exclude the top 5 insane people, the real average is probably 15 or 20.
Okay.
It's still ridiculous, but it's, there's entire businesses set up building, developing cars to cater to the same 400 or 500 people globally, as opposed to cater to all of us enthusiasts.
I don't think I realize that.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at, think about
300 or 400. I want to know these 300 or 400.
Look
people.
at the billionaires list. I mean, it's not
Right.
Think about the fact that Ferrari, McLaren, Aston Martin, Lamborghini, Bentley, Rolls-Royce all now have upper tier cars or packages that are several $1 million.
Yes.
And they're allocating those resources to those very small production volumes of cars versus building cars at even their admittedly ridiculous entry level. Because if they could sell 100 cars for $3 million each, that's better to them than selling 1,000 cars for $300,000 or 10,000 cars for. So
the profit's there.
It's the same profit for less.
And equity later on.
Yeah.
It's a limited number.
Right. It's the same. It's and who gets screwed? The people who want great cars that only are regular people, even regular rich people.
So then how do we switch this around? How do we inspire them to want to make more things for us? Or it's just going to get more expensive, huh?
We're all screwed. We're all screwed.
We're all screwed.
We're all super screwed.
Well, we got to start with listening today. I love the word allocations. We're going to talk about that.
Oh, great. My favorite.
And then we're going to talk about embargo. And then you're going to determine what you can talk about.
Okay. Anything. I can talk about anything except the E-Ray Corvette.
I love it.
Alrighty then.
That's all. That's the only thing.
And now everyone's intrigued.
Everything else is fair game. That's under embargo.
Yeah. Well, basically, you know.
And when is that off? When is
October 13th.
Okay. Then you can talk about it.
Then
everyone wants to know.
Then it will be in Road and Track and on the Smoking Tire YouTube channel.
Rad.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Gross.
Well, right. Well, here I am. What do you got?
Here you are.
Let's go.
Well, you know that our format is a little bit more motorsports lifestyle. So we're going to get into finding out about who Matt Farah is.
My motorsports lifestyle.
Yes.
Well, it's all about the hustle. And with us, we like to find out, we know that you grew up around cars, right? Around ish.
I mean, I loved cars. I always, I read every car magazine, and I had a go-kart when I was a kid. I'm not a wrench. I've never been a wrench. I'll never be a wrench. Don't like wrenching.
It's dirty. It's dirty work.
It's painful. I hurt myself every time I try to work on a car.
Crack a knuckle or something?
No, I hurt my back. I'm crawling on the ground. I'm not about that. I work very hard so I can pay other people to work on my cars.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
But
it's
sounds
weird that
like
car people they think you're not like a real car person if you don't work on your car. And then also they think it's great that there are these really high-end shops that exist that do work on cars, and they never once consider who pays those high-end shops to do that work on those cars.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I am a patron of high-end shops that work on my cars.
And that's what people need, right?
Yeah, those
But-
people have mortgages too.
Well, and you know, part of that is someone comes in, you could probably tell them how to work on the car because you probably know so much about
I could
the
tell them.
technical
I could tell
side
someone
of it.
what's wrong.
Okay.
And I could tell someone what I want changed.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you anything in between those two things.
No, but-
That's okay.
I think, but your background, I mean, it's all encompassing of you knowing about a car, you know?
Sure. Yeah. I'm more driving dynamics.
Yep.
I've
The engineering of it.
Yeah, to some degree, but I've just reviewed like 3,000 cars.
You're just an enthusiast.
I've driven a lot more cars than most people, so I have a knowledge base of that, and my particular skill is that I can drive a car at like 80% of racing pace while having a conversation about something totally unrelated to what's right in front of me in
Love
that
it.
moment. And not a lot of people can do that.
Love
I
it.
don't know. I mean, I assume there's some practice involved as well, but like that was always something that was just a little easier for me. A lot of people have trouble on camera and other people have trouble driving and talking at the same time, but like not me, I can do it. So I do it a lot, and that's led to many other things.
So you launched your first video in 2006. Was
Yeah.
that in the original iteration of the smoking tire?
No,
Tell us
I
about
owned
that.
a car wash with my friend Larry Casilla, who is actually also makes YouTube videos now. He was one of the best detailers on the planet. He makes detailing videos.
Cool.
And at the time, we were like, out of college and trying to figure out what we were doing. And we both wanted to be in cars. And he was very motivated to open this detail shop. And I didn't really know much about or care much about detailing, but it was an opportunity to start to get my foot in the door with cars. And I had worked at dealerships. I worked at a exotic car rental company, but I wanted to own something. And so we opened this detailing shop, and we had realized that these people would come hang out at the detailing shop and smoke cigars while we were working on their cars, but they wouldn't really drive the cars. They would just drive them back and forth to the car wash, really. So in the very early days of like Google Maps, I would put on these driving events with these amazing roads that I would find that other
Right.
people really weren't able to find.
Yeah.
And so I would have like catered lunches set up, and we'd go on these early morning drives. And it's something that's like very common today and happens all the time.
Sure.
But in 2004, 2005, that
Yeah.
was sort of a new thing. And then when YouTube launched, we were like, oh, here's a way that we could make videos and share these videos of our drives with the world, which will then market the car wash business as well, and people will think we're like cool. And so I hired a camera guy who had mainly done like skateboarding videos. And our very early videos, which are still on YouTube now, it was the shop and the club were called New York Motor Club. And they looked like skateboarding videos, but with cars. And in fact, they were so old. It was such early YouTube that it was before the Digital Music Copyright Act, DMCA.
yeah.
So these videos, which are still on YouTube, have like Stone Temple Pilots and Pearl Jam, like soundtracks. And because it was before the law,
Yeah.
it's grandfathered in. They can't take them down.
That's cool.
And so and they're very rough. They're not good or polished, but it was a thing.
You got to start somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
and then the camera guy brought me like a microphone. It was like a news anchor microphone, and he was like, "Here, host the video." And so I started doing hosting of these videos, and I very quickly realized that this was something that was bigger and better than running a little car wash, freezing my ass off all winter in New York. And so I sold my half of the car wash to Larry, and I went to go start making YouTube videos. Yeah.
That's amazing. So that actually came before becoming a journalist.
Oh, yeah.
For you?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it grew from the YouTube,
Yeah.
and then you became the.
We were making these videos with these drives we were doing, which turned into, once I had a microphone, me driving these people's cars and talking about them. And because I had this experience working at dealers, I had this experience working at the exotic car rental company, I knew a lot more than most 24-year-olds about what worked and didn't work and how exotic cars drove and should drive and what went wrong with them. And so most 24-year-olds don't have that kind of access to that kind of metal. And so I used that as sort of a basis to then go on and make videos. Now I had to figure out, and there's a longer story, but it's not worth retelling, how to get cars from manufacturers and what makes someone a journalist versus just a YouTuber, and what sort of code of ethics did I want to have. And but I took that same camera guy, Tom, and we went and started the Smoking Tire together. It wasn't for him in the long term, and he left and went back to doing other things. But we kept going. Me and Zach, who started as our assistant, and is now my co-host and producer, and now it's been almost 15 years.
And I think I read somewhere that in between that transition that you kind of, I guess some of your audience was looking for it because you were trying to do a subscription or something, and kind of changed over to not doing that. And
the Smoking Tire has been a constant, and it's never been behind a paywall. It's never been subscription.
Yeah.
But it was and still is very hard to make money doing that.
Yeah.
Even if you're very successful in theory. Mm-hmm. So there has always been multiple other jobs. Since I was like 25,
Yeah.
I've never had less than 3 jobs.
Yeah.
Ever. So that could be the Smoking Tire plus hosting other YouTube series. It could be the Smoking Tire plus writing. It could be this. I now have my car storage business, West Side Collector Car Storage.
Yep.
So there's always been multiple jobs.
Yeah.
And if you want to make like lawyer money doing something fun, you have to actually work harder than the lawyers. And so what you're probably referring to was one of my other side jobs was for another YouTube channel that became a television show called Drive.
Okay.
And so it's that ultimately morphed into what is the website, The Drive now. They acquired the IP later. But it started as a YouTube channel under what was called the Premium Content Initiative. When Netflix started streaming, YouTube felt left behind and said, well, people, now they understand people are willing to stream premium content.
Yep.
There was a time before that was a thing.
Yeah.
Netflix was mailing DVDs to people. When they started streaming,
Right.
Premium content, YouTube wanted some of that action. So they took creators who were established, and then they invited people to apply to create new channels, and YouTube would give them grants to
Got
produce
it.
premium content.
Okay.
One of which was this channel Drive that was
Okay.
put together by my
Yeah.
friend JF. 2 years later, we had amassed 1 million subscribers. We'd made several hundred videos.
Wow.
We employed about a dozen people at that channel. And then YouTube abruptly canceled the program, leaving all of those people
Wow.
in the lurch.
Yeah.
And so the people behind that channel tried to figure out how they could make it work. And what they came up with was what you'd call freemium, meaning there'd be 2 tiers of content. Some was free, some was behind a paywall.
Okay.
Now, if this sounds familiar, it's because a lot of people do this now.
Yeah.
It's very,
Yes.
very common.
Yes.
But in 2012, we were like some of the first people to try this, and it was not received well at all.
Yeah.
The people and not only was it not received well, the wrong people were blamed for this. Not everyone needed to understand the full story of the YouTube Premium
Sure.
Content Initiative.
Yeah.
But what when you're making a show, the hosts get the credit when it's good.
Sure.
And they get the blame when it goes wrong.
Absolutely.
And in both cases, almost 100%, neither of those is true, right?
Yeah.
And so,
many more factors.
the suits, that gave and then tooketh away, or the
Yeah.
decision makers to do this thing. And in hindsight, I sympathize with both of them, but me and the other hosts were just destroyed on the internet, and we were called greedy.
Got it.
Meanwhile, we took significant pay
Yeah.
cuts just to keep working.
Yeah.
And my reaction to that was, okay, if you people aren't just not willing to pay for this content, but will be like, show up with the torches and the
Yeah.
stakes,
Yeah.
and the pitchforks for this, well, I'm going to create content that is so cheap to make that I can still make money giving it away for free.
Yeah.
So I said, we're going to eliminate editing. We're going to eliminate music. We're going to eliminate B-roll. We're going to eliminate story. It's going to be me and 3 GoPros, and that is it.
Yeah.
And if the average revenue from a video is $500, I'm doing $500 worth of work and not
Sure.
1 second more.
Yeah.
And so I came up with a concept that I just called the one take, which was literally capitalized on the one thing I could do, which I just told you before I can do: drive really fast while talking and do that in one take. Because they used to, when we were making that show,
Sure.
Drive, they called me One Take Matt because I could do my whole monologue in one take.
Love it.
So I would just do that. I would just
Yeah.
roll camera. I'd do one forward-facing camera, one in-car facing camera, and I would do picture-in-picture. It was almost like a Twitch stream, like a video game stream, where you'd have the little photo be
Yep.
the guy with
Right.
the headset,
Yeah.
and then the big photo be their game screen. It was that in real cars. No editing, no B-roll, nothing. And because they were so easy to make, I would invite fans to meet me in the canyons with their cars, and I would drive their cars. And I would drive and make 6 videos in one day. And then
Wow.
I would go home and I'd edit them in a second day.
Yeah.
And then I would trickle them out. And so I was able to make, over a period of 3 years, about 1,800 videos by myself, which is more than the entire staffs of magazines
Yeah.
can do.
How do you maintain the hustle with that?
I don't. I burned out on it. That's why I don't do it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. I made a ton of money and I grew my
Lesson.
audience massively.
Yeah.
And then I
Okay.
absolutely burnt out on it because
Yeah.
it was totally unsustainable.
Yeah.
And other people copied my formula. Famously,
They're
Motor
burned out now too.
Well, it's a young person's game. If you're in your 20s, you can keep that up for a while.
yeah.
If you're in your 30s or 40s, you probably can't. I mean, it's just when I would do that, those shoot days, I would go home and like collapse.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
it's exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
to
6
do all
car-
that.
yeah,
6
that's
cars
a
in
lot.
one day.
Well,
in the
it's a
hot mountains, like
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just the idea, the concept of being on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
correct.
don't know that
It-
people
it drains
appreciate
people.
Well, it's
that.
one thing
Yeah.
to be on, but I was also the cameraman.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about when I
He
say
had 3 jobs at one
by
time.
myself, I mean by myself.
I
So I
can't.
would have to set up all the cameras, make sure the audio was good, make sure everything that usually there's a team of folks doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And the talent usually just gets to think about what they're going to say.
Yeah.
While these guys are setting up cameras and
Oh,
making
yeah.
sure the audio's good.
Totally.
You only have to think about the content.
Yep.
As we glance over to our producer.
Look, I mean, that's
Like,
how
that's
that's how
great.
the world is supposed to work.
Correct. Yeah.
It was only by biting off way more than I could chew
Yeah.
for way too long that I was able to do it. And I burnt
Yeah.
out. I couldn't do it anymore. Well, guess what happened next? I started
Tell us.
making content the audience at a cadence I could live with, and the audience was like, "Well, this isn't why we're here. We came here so you do this, because the thing you do, dance, monkey, dance."
Yeah. Right.
And the growth of the channel froze, stopped. That was it. It never grew again.
How old were you at this time? About.
34, maybe.
Yeah, and you're on the just on the cutting edge
Right.
of everything that's beginning to change within YouTube. And
Right.
Like
And
you
then
said,
and we
streaming
started the Smoking
services.
Tire podcast in 2010. And
Okay.
when my friend convinced us to start that, I was like, why would I do that? Everyone already has a podcast. That was in 2010. And by everyone, I was like Adam Carolla and 3 other people, you know? And so
You know,
now,
it'd be
now the
thousands,
Smoke
yeah.
Tire podcast brings in far more revenue. We're on episode almost 900.
That
and
is
it's far more
incredible.
revenue
Yeah.
than the YouTube channel now.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So I still make YouTube videos, but I don't drive people's personal cars anymore because that was a source of stress
huge
and
liability.
risk. Liability, yes. That's
Especially now.
right. Well, that was the other thing is I had to be ready to write a check at any time.
Right.
Something went wrong.
You just said stress.
There's no
That's-
insurance for that. I
Really,
had
it's
to-
in your head. Yeah,
I had to be
it's
ready to write a check.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
listening to
Yeah.
one of your podcasts earlier today because, well, they're really fun, you guys. and you were talking about how there was an incident where you had to write a check to somebody.
Yeah, I did. I wrote. I think I wrote 2 checks ever.
That's pretty dang good considering
Yeah, I know
how
my
much
safety
you've-
record is impeccable.
Yeah.
and both one was on a racetrack.
Yeah.
and
Right.
I should have said no to driving that car at
Yeah, it
that
was
time.
Slicks and wet.
Slicks in a downpour.
Yeah.
But we were in a foreign country and someone else had rented the track that day and all these people had come out and I should have said I'm not doing this, but I did. And yeah, that cost me $2,500. Neither of the
like-
checks have
I
been
mean,
big.
that's not that bad. Yeah.
It was a lot at the time.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
a lot. It was a
Yeah.
lot at the time. Yeah.
Fair
I mean,
enough.
I mean, it wasn't like it didn't change my life.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But it hurt.
Yeah.
And then there was another one where there was a rock in the road that and I hit it with a car's like carbon fiber splitter, and I had to buy the guy a splitter. And in both cases, the
Yeah.
owner of the car was really cool,
Yeah.
and you know and I handled it as best I could, and
Sure.
and what you move on. But
Yeah. I mean, with the amount of vehicles you've driven, I mean,
Yeah, it's
that's
pretty good.
under 1%, you know,
yeah,
it's a
my,
0.0.
my safety record
yeah.
is very
yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it has to be,
Yeah.
otherwise you're not going to have a job. You know?
Yeah.
No.
So, but there's always, you know, it's sort of a there's sort of a one door closes and another one opens thing. As long as you are, you know, you got to think pretty far ahead. You got, you know, I was pretty when I stopped driving fan cars and I saw the YouTube growth plateauing. I became immediately aware of the fact that when creating content on platforms that you don't control, you don't have control over your income.
Yep.
And so that's why I started Westside Collector Car Storage, my car storage
Yeah.
business. It was a need I had as a collector. I live on the west side. There's not a lot of space. I needed a place to keep my cars. I thought there might be some other people too. And there were other places around LA, such as Autotopia here, Sean's place, which is great.
Yeah.
And other
Undisclosed
and-
location.
Oh, are we not supposed to say where we are?
No.
Oh, sorry. Well,
Just no.
It says it on the
Say-
table.
I
Like,
I know.
I mean, you're
I'm
not
just-
really hiding it so well.
Dude, I'm just messing
It
with
says
you.
it on the wall. Like, I didn't know it was a
I just-
secret. But,
Sean's in the room, and I'm just messing with you.
but you know, when I ultimately retire, it will be as a guy who owns a fancy parking garage and
Yeah,
not a YouTuber, because eventually the world will decide I'm not cool anymore, and I'm not someone who they care about to hear from about cars, but I'll still have that.
How do you feel when people call you an automotive influencer?
That's fine. I'm not like insulted by it. I don't call myself that. I think the difference between an influencer and a journalist is it's a fine line, and one can be both. But I choose to use the word journalist because I do have a set of ethics that I follow. I don't take money from manufacturers. I don't advertise for manufacturers. Now, I go on press launches, which manufacturers do pay for. That's standard in the industry. There'd be no way to do
Right.
it otherwise. But you know, I'm very honest. I won't say something I don't believe. I will tell people, manufacturers and engineers and PR people, negative things about their products.
Yeah.
You know, and if the manufacturer doesn't like what I have to say in a video, I won't take it down. I mean, it's I'm sure there's like an official code of ethics that you learn in journalism school, and I didn't go to journalism school, but I try to get as close to you know, I'm not bought off.
Fair
I'm not
Yeah,
bought.
you
I'm
want
not bought off.
unbiased
I have left
opinion
a
of-
lot of money on the table
Sure. Yeah.
by calling myself a journalist and not an influencer, and turning down some of those influencers.
But that's a code of ethics that is important to you.
It is,
Yeah.
because you once you sell out, you don't get it back. You're that forever. So I can always find other ways to make money, and I don't need to sell out.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not that desperate. You know, my father is a great businessman and is very successful in his career, and just always sort of taught me that, like, you know, your word is it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's a lot of ways to make money, but if you make money by selling yourself out, it's almost impossible to get it back. So you really don't want to be doing that.
Baja Forged, signature vehicle builds and off-road products built to forge your own path. Baja Forged was basically made because we loved off-roading. We loved the open roads. If you're looking for off-road products to help you get out on the terrain, visit bajaforged.com. Follow us on Instagram at Baja Forged for our latest builds.
Since 1987, GTS Customs has specialized in resto-mod Corvettes. From widened bodies to pro touring vehicles with all today's modern technology. If you've got a Corvette, an old Corvette, and you want to make it drive like something new, contact gtscustoms.com.
When I was making YouTube videos before that, it was under a different channel's name that didn't come with me. The Smoking Tire was
You
hard to
left the
come up
past
with.
back
but
there, huh?
Yeah, no, we were in New York, and it was very obvious that that LA was where you had to be.
Yeah.
To you know, between the car culture and the history of California and Los Angeles' role in cars. And in the beginning, I didn't see YouTube as the future. What I saw was YouTube as a rolling audition for television. It was a little short-sighted, but it worked out. I wanted to be on
could see
cable
that.
TV. I wanted
Yeah.
I wanted a TV show. And I thought that if I made YouTube videos,
Yeah.
that people would see them. That's where casting people would go.
Of course.
That's where
Yeah.
producers would look. And
Yeah.
that did work.
Yeah.
I was the dog that caught the car. I was on cable television, and it was awful, and I hated it. And I didn't.
It was exactly what you thought you wanted, but did
and
not
I
want.
made like no money. I didn't enjoy the process of making television. I didn't enjoy the suits. I didn't enjoy. The only thing I liked was when we did studio audience. We had a studio segment with an audience, and I thought that was really fun. But
the interaction.
yeah, just being in front of an audience, it was fun. You know, when you get a laugh, you get a reaction, like that's great.
Yeah.
But everything else about it was horrible. And we realized that, like, we can make just as much money at this point, you know, making YouTube videos as making television. So, like, screw television.
Well, and you're kind of at their beck and call. You know, you kind of have to do things, and everything it sounds like you've done has been because it's something that's been out of passion that you wanted to do.
Yeah,
create.
and there's an authenticity to self-publishing that doesn't exist so much in television.
Agreed.
And, you know, I like a collaborative process. I don't mind. It's not like I need to be in charge of everything. It's not that.
yeah.
But what bothered me about TV is that the people that it seemed got to make the real choices never actually seemed to care about the authentic element of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it was again with the dancing, you know, they want, you know, we want you to dance because this is what the audience wants.
Yeah.
And so that's what we want to give them.
I mean, I can't tell you how many meetings I've been in where I've pitched a show idea that I thought was smart and interesting and said something and maybe even funny. And they go, all right, you know, that sounds great. And we really like you, but maybe like you and some friends could like have a shop where you like bought and fixed and flipped cars, you know, and it's the same garbage over and over.
Yeah.
And people who need the money and who have no shame are happy to do that kind of a show. But I don't need the money, and I'd rather be happy than be any more famous than I am. I'm already a sufficient level of famous. I don't need to be more famous. And so I'll just be over here. You know, like, you want to do if you guys want to do
But
what,
you're just doing your. That's it.
yeah,
Exactly.
if these folks want to do the thing I want to do, then I'll
Yeah.
play. But
Yeah.
like they want me, they want to take my authenticity and apply it to their bullshit.
Yeah.
You know?
But they don't want you to stay authentic.
No.
That's the problem.
No.
Yeah. They act like that's what it is, but they want to mold it.
No.
Yeah.
They want to buy my authenticity to apply to their garbage.
Yeah.
On a very superficial level.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll just be over here. And when that stops working, I'll park cars for a living because that's okay too. That's all right.
And I mean, like you said fancy. I mean, your place, West Side Collector Car Storage is amazing.
Fancy parking.
It was one of the things that caught my eye. I'm like, I was watching the video, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
I just want to come in here and sit and
Field trip.
chill out in
Well,
there.
that's where my studio is. I mean, I record my podcast there
Yeah.
as well, and
And you created something that you saw that, like you said, and that came right around that time of ending the videos, right? Of you getting burnt out.
Yeah, I realized that I could not keep that up, and so
Yeah.
what was the next thing? What could be lasting? What could I have control over?
Yeah.
And what could I at least, if I succeed or fail, it's because I succeeded or failed, not because someone moved an algorithm lever
Right.
or something,
Yeah.
And YouTube is always moving their goalposts in order to, they're a business, right? So they need to attract new creators. They need to
of
attract
course.
new audience.
Yeah.
They need to get people watching
Yeah.
ads. And so they're always tweaking those to get the maximum out of that. And the problem with YouTube and many other modern mediums, such as Netflix and Hulu, whatever, is on demand. You need to it's about getting someone to click. It's the title, it's that center card photo, it's the dumb YouTuber face. You
We've
gotta.
done that.
It's the clickbaity garbage titles. Someone who's just providing a smart consumer resource. YouTube's not gonna, feature that. They're gonna feature someone doing something ridiculous, something extreme, something that people will react to,
Yeah.
and more importantly, will
scrolling.
keep scrolling.
Yeah.
So with the
that-
car
You got
storage
that
business,
3 seconds.
right. So with the car storage business, it's much more about one-on-one, owner to customer. What can I do to make your life easier? And in a lot of cases, we're going to have, when we acquire a customer, it's for life.
Yeah.
And I built the building.
Yeah.
Most people don't do that.
Yeah.
And so by building the building, we have the strongest. My building is rated to a 12.0 earthquake.
I saw that. That's really cool.
No one's ever done that.
Yeah.
No one's ever done indoor quad stackers over a basement before in a seismic zone. That's the first. No one's ever done a new permitted indoor wash and detail bay in Los Angeles County in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So by doing stuff that wasn't impossible, it was just annoying.
Yeah.
and expensive, and
Sure.
it took a long time.
Sure.
Now we have something that can be very proud of, and we've just opened our second facility in the South Bay.
Congratulations. That's
so,
rad.
so business is growing. Don't worry, we're not coming to Burbank. It's a long way to drive over here. You can have Burbank, bro.
You're going to stay on the other side of the hill.
Burbank's all you, bro. You can have it. Van Nuys too. Take it.
I love it. I love
We're
it.
gonna go south. We're gonna go south. I don't like stepping on my friends' toes. I like to keep it friendly.
Well, and you kind of mentioned that before. Like, it is a moral and ethics thing, and even when you came in here, you jokingly said, you're like, well, of course he's my competitor,
Yeah, kind of, but not really.
But that's the thing is, the more you work with other people like that, we're all car people.
Sure.
Like, we all love doing the same kind of thing, and is it, or do you help each other out?
Well, and if I opened a business up the road from here,
Yeah.
would that be smart? Like, no. Like my business
As a
it's
business
it's
person.
my little circle.
Correct, yeah.
You have your little circle. I have
Yeah.
my little circle, and that's fine. It's okay. And then
and
we
that
can
actually helps everything in that,
Sure.
to grow and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And really, like, as us as people, like, we evolve in life. And so, yes, you went through that one stage of, this is what you did, and you did this on YouTube, and now the next evolution is
Yeah.
you to do this,
Yeah.
So it's just evolving that. And now, with that, I mean, can you talk more about the storage, like, you know, the facilities and stuff? I know you do your podcast there. Are you just, what types of services are you offering? Since you were mentioning,
you know, we keep the cars on battery tenders. We have a high-end detail shop on site. We can do, you know, we use really good vendors. We can do stuff like tires. You know, they come to us to look at tire. Shout out to Zip Tire. You use Zip Tire? You should. It's a tire shop in a truck. They
Shout
come
out
to you.
to Zip Tire.
Zip Tire, yeah, they're rad.
We can all
do
be
them right
found here.
Yeah, they're great. So,
Sponsor
yeah.
opportunity.
You know,
Right?
we can little stuff like touch-up painting and whatever. We're not zoned for mechanical work, so we don't
Got
do
it.
mechanical work, but we help our clients. We ship a lot of cars. You know, it's basically like
You give away cars too.
oh, that's on YouTube. Yeah, we've done some car giveaways. Those are fun. And it's a good. The people who win the cars are super happy, and the people who enter, they buy a coffee mug with my dumb face on it, and they have a souvenir, and we make a little bit of money on that, and so those are fun projects. But with the storage business, it's just about making the annoying parts of owning a car less annoying. And so when they call and they say, I'm coming down on Friday to get the car, it's washed, it's ready to go, and they go have fun with it. They bring it back dirty, and we
Start
keep it
all
safe.
over.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, most of my customers are very cool, and some of them use the cars all the time. Some of them never use the cars, and that's all fine. Whatever we can do to make, you know, your life easier.
Yeah.
But you know, people are surprised. Sometimes they'll call and I'll pick up the phone, and they'll go, You're answering the phone? Yeah, I own
It's my place,
I own
yeah.
the business. Like, yeah, that's crazy.
what I
like,
do.
no, that's the thing. And you know, on our email inquiries page,
Mm-hmm.
it's how did you hear about us? And probably 30 to 40% are the smoking tires. So
Sure.
So you know.
So it's a good
Well,
feeder.
one thing feeds another, and that's
it's a great thing. It's you know, continuing to make videos, even
Yeah.
if just at a slower cadence, continuing to do the podcast and all that is the most cost effective marketing that I could ever do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We keep doing that. I love it. Go.
Well, and I think, speaking from people who started our game as a Zoom podcast thing and then into the podcast is fun because you get to talk to really cool people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The
I
stories.
mean,
Yeah.
it's like
That's my.
It's the
I
best
mean,
part of it.
look. Right now, I have 4 jobs. I do videos.
You're an entrepreneur
I do
then.
podcasts.
Yeah.
I have the car storage business, and I'm the editor at large for Road and Track
Yeah.
magazine.
that's right.
So these are all, you know, for most people, each of those would be
One job.
a full-time job. And I'm not suggesting that I'm in any way special. I'm actually suggesting that I'm stupid and greedy, more than anything else. And my wife would probably agree with that. You know, and that is not sustainable. It's just not. And so, you know, at some point in the future, the videos, which are the least rewarding to produce, the least profitable by time spent, will dwindle. The podcast, which is, like you just said, sitting around with fun people chatting,
Yeah.
and I can do it at my own place.
Right.
Yeah.
That will continue as long as I am loud and have a voice. And the writing gig, you know, I
can
grew
still
up reading
speak.
Road and Track magazine
Yeah,
obsessively.
that's so rad,
And so
yeah.
getting to not just write for them, but be someone who's got a business card that says editor on it.
Yeah.
Not editor in chief, editor at large.
I know.
Which editor at large is the best fun job you can have over there. Above that, you're doing like layout
yeah.
or selling
Yeah,
ads
yeah.
or like managing people. With me, it's
Yeah.
like go to Monaco and drive the new Aston Martin. Like that's
Yeah.
the
Yes,
that's as
please.
good as it gets, you know. And
me.
I know.
you know, and I've reviewed cars for 15 years, but the difference in making a video and writing is when you're making a video, you're so focused on the production. Whereas when you're writing, I get to go have an experience. Maybe there's a still photographer there, but ultimately I get to have a full experience and then process that
Yeah.
and then put it to words
Yeah.
and then go back through it a few times and make sure every sentence is tight, every every bit of information that's there is supposed to be there. Oftentimes there's a word count maximum, so I can't just blabber on forever. And so that process is incredibly rewarding. And on top of that, I know this is going to sound ridiculous to some people, but writing is how I consume content.
Yeah.
I don't actually watch anybody's videos. There's maybe 2 people who make YouTube videos that I actually watch. Like, seriously. I'll watch like regular television like other regular people, but I do not consume car videos because I know everybody who makes them. And if I care about what they think, I will text them. Or I'll see them on the launch event, or they'll come on my podcast and we'll chat. I don't need to see their dramatic build up for the car that I've already driven. You know what I'm saying? So that's surprising to people. They're like, what videos do you watch? I'm like, none. In fact, there's a running joke when I have people on the podcast.
Yeah.
They go, did you see my newest video? And I go, no.
Yeah.
No, and I won't.
Yeah.
I never will. And we laugh at that.
Yeah.
Because nobody watches anybody's videos.
Well, like I said earlier today, maybe it's just me sucking up. I listened to yours today. But
Well, you were doing homework for your podcast. That's okay.
Really
And it was
super
a podcast, though. Are you watching the video or listening to the podcast?
Well, there's video stuff, and I didn't need to see them. Tiny little screen. I just turned it up and did my shit.
but you
Let me
listen,
just say,
yeah.
if I have someone on my show who is a content creator whose work I've never seen, I will watch 1 or 2 of their videos.
Right?
I will, but I
There's
don't.
a little research
I don't
involved,
follow
yes.
along
Yes.
with what other
Yeah,
people
yeah.
are doing
Yeah.
in cars.
Yeah.
And the ones, even if the video pops up somehow on my social media feed, I will call or text them and go, "Oh,
What do
that's
I
cool.
need to know?"
That looks cool. give me the rundown of that. All right, cool. And I'll waste
But
their
it's
time.
also listening, because
Yes.
that's what I love about the podcast part of it, is that you feel like you're in the conversation with
Sure.
someone
Oh my
else,
gosh.
and you're in the car and you're,
Yeah.
you know, whatever that is, it makes time go by so much faster
sure.
and you feel included.
For sure. Podcasting is amazing.
Yeah.
And
It's
we
amazing.
know that it's not every individual's podcast that is fun. So I'm surprised that I actually listened to an hour of
I
it.
mean-
I'm like, wow, I
You got an
stayed.
hour. You
I
got
was
an
gonna
hour
say,
in?
it was a
All
real.
right.
Well, the first thing I did.
How did you choose what episode to listen
Well,
to?
it came after something. I don't know. I was
Okay.
listening to something, and I follow you. I'm not gonna lie.
Pick your favorite number between 1 and 1,000, and here we go.
Well, and I was kind of thinking, how good can this be? It's an hour and 42 minutes. Right? But,
That's how most people think.
But look,
How good could this possibly be?
I stayed very engaged. I did. I was so pleased. I'm like, wow.
Did you
this is
fast
fun.
forward through the ads?
I didn't. But I will tell you
okay.
that listening to Zach, I'm like, wow, this is a long freaking ad.
Zach
he
is a
got
clutch
a lot
player.
to say.
Zach is a very
Yeah.
clutch player.
But I paid
Very
attention.
handy.
And
It's all right.
yeah, I appreciate
glad you enjoyed
everything. And that kind of leads me to talk about the fact that you had brought up during this particular episode the fact that the car culture in England, because you were just talking about
Oh, this
Goodwood.
must have been we just got back
Oh,
from
Goodwood.
Goodwood.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
yeah.
you were talking a little bit about that and how much different it is
Yeah.
here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Oh
and
gosh, it's
probably
different everywhere.
specifically
Yeah,
in
culturally.
California. And then Marcel and I started talking about our producer, and yeah, it's so much different
Oh, yeah.
to me and Marcel, because we're closer in age, how it's changed over the last 30 years. But we grew up, cruising Van Nuys Boulevard.
Oh,
and,
sure.
And just doing rad stuff. And our kids, my kid does,
Like they don't
pay
even
attention
want to
it.
get a driver's license at 16 now,
Oh,
type
thank
thing.
God mine
Well, not
did.
ours
Yeah,
personally,
yeah,
but
thank God mine
other
did.
ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Society.
part of it is like there's a lot more. There's so many ways for young people to connect with each other, aside
They
from
don't have to leave their house to
the
go
land,
do that.
the landline, or leave it, or
Yeah.
leave it.
We had to
or
leave our
it in the
house to go connect. Yes.
Yeah,
this
I
is
mean,
a good
I did,
point.
and to me, I'm not typical because to me the act of driving was very important because I was an
Yes.
enthusiast. So there was nothing to
Us
me
too.
more important than my car and driving. But I had friends that drove because they had to and not because they really cared.
Yeah.
But I try to not judge because there are so many ways for them to be connected, and like cars, the driving that we do in this city unless you're like a real enthusiast who's up in the canyons or something every weekend,
it's not fun. Traffic's not fun.
Like, it's not like
I don't like
it's
traffic.
not like my drive here from the west side was like great. Like it sucked. It was traffic and it was light to light and the tarmac
I
was
love
awful.
to drive. I hate traffic.
Sure, and that's why I think like I try and spread a message that like, you know, people think that like urbanism and urbanists are like super against car enthusiasts, but they're not. Like, I'm a car enthusiast and I'm also an urbanist. Like, I don't want to sit in traffic. I like a walkable neighborhood. I want to be able to walk to a restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think we need to have like, I don't think everywhere needs ample parking for the worst case scenario at all times. Like, if I have to park around the block, like, all right, whatever. And so, you know, we live in this world that has been very developed in a car-centric way and not a human-centric way.
Yeah.
And so I'm not surprised that if a young person isn't specifically enthusiastic about sports cars, that they would look at cars as sort of a burden rather than an enjoyment. You know, and like I said earlier, I don't know if it was before we were recording or not. You know,
you want to mention that?
You know, how many, what cars can young people realistically be excited about right now? There's so few of them.
Because the price point too.
They can't afford anything. They can't afford anything. You know, and so, and even the stuff, it's dwindling so fast that even the stuff that they probably could afford in some ways is becoming collectible and out of reach.
Yeah.
You know, E30 BMWs, 25 grand.
Yeah.
You know, it's just stuff that really, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't collect those cars and keep them cheap, but it's, I sympathize with a young person that finds it very hard to be enthusiastic about cars because everything seems unattainable.
Yeah. And you had mentioned about the experience also with driving, like you said, like the engagement, basically, like you don't, you know, when you drive a car, like actually feeling, you know, the road in it, anything, you know, feedback. And now cars aren't like that anymore. I mean, they're evolving to a different level where you push a button and everything changes for you.
Yeah. And it's hard to balance. I can sympathize with the OEMs because it's hard to balance the technology that people want in their car, the connectivity with their phone, fuel efficiency, usability. I get it. And I get that SUVs and trucks are more profitable than smaller cars. But it's, you know, I think it's very short-sighted if you're not developing enthusiasm with something that younger people can reasonably desire to
attain.
It
makes sense. Yeah, for sure.
Even you know, Mustangs and stuff are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't want to be like, these young kids suck, they don't like cars. It's like, it's not necessarily their fault. Like, you know, people
Society
in their
has
40s
changed
to
that,
60s fuck that up for them. You know, like,
I mean, you don't put us all in that.
I mean, you know, they could have been more motivated to build engaging cars, and there are still some, but there's not a lot.
Yeah.
There are some great cars. I mean, your money, you know, an economy car has never been better. You know, you go buy a $25,000 or $30,000 Hyundai, you're getting a pretty nice car.
Yeah.
You go buy an entry-level Civic, you're getting a pretty nice car. And so it's not like there's these like terrible death traps. You know, the days of the Dodge Omni are gone. You know,
For the Yugo.
yeah, right. But at the same time, there's not a lot of options for enthusiasts, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of options for billionaires. I mean, what a great time to be a billionaire. Am I right? I mean, if you're a billionaire, it's like, well, should I get this or should I get that? Fuck it, both. And throw in the yacht and the G5 while we're at it.
Yeah.
Because I need everything.
And
I need to own
you-
everything and everyone.
And you
Can I get some
mentioned-
humans with that? Because I would like to buy 4 or 5 humans for that.
I mean, if the price is right.
It's very important we set up our world so that billionaires have enough toys.
Well, and you mentioned
Never want a bored
you
billionaire.
said
It's
Bugatti
bad.
owners in general.
want
You
a
said
bored
an
billionaire.
No, you know what happens when you get a bored billionaire? Elon Musk. And then we are all in deep, deep trouble.
And we're all on X.
Yeah. Hopefully
X
not for long.
planet, X
Yeah.
something.
You mentioned the Bugatti. You
yeah.
said an average Bugatti owner has how many vehicles?
I mean, the statistic that they talk about is like 85 cars.
That's insane.
It is. It is.
And that's what you're referring to. That's just, it is crazy.
There are a couple hundred people globally that are where money doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They have
and
FU
they could,
money.
They could buy anything, they want, and they do. And our system is incredibly happy to cater to them because
Yeah.
the best customer is someone for whom money doesn't matter.
Sure.
And we, I heard you mention the word allocations before. Allocations are like heroin. You get some rich guy that thinks they can have everything, and you tell him he can't have an allocation, and it's like, he'll never stop thinking about that.
But just like a guy on heroin, yeah.
I mean, I know
Jonesing
so many
for that.
people that ask me this all the time. We have a big, our audience for our show it's a big Porsche audience. Lots of Porsche people. Porsches are very popular in Southern California because they're
Yeah.
usable and they're
Yeah.
comfortable and they're fast and they're well made, et cetera, et cetera.
Fun
et
on these
cetera.
mountain roads.
Right, and I have one. They're great cars.
Yeah.
But if you were one of the people to buy the 918 Spider in 2013, the $1 million car, they were worried they wouldn't get enough people to buy into those, and so what they dangled in front of those people were 10 years of allocations. If you bought one of those cars, you could get an allocation for every new Porsche GT car for 10 years.
Oh.
Yeah. And so what happened? These people would take their allocations and buy the car even if they didn't want the car. And then if they didn't like it, they'd flip it.
Yeah.
And people
And
who
it's
couldn't
only
get an
the certain
allocation.
ones.
So you were essentially taking people that were already rich enough to
Yeah.
buy $1 million car, and you were giving them an income stream,
Yeah.
giving it to them, because this thing that they could buy was immediately worth more. So every allocation that they had, but for which a car they didn't want, was worth like $100,000 cash, because they could sell the allocation. They didn't even have to take the car. They could sell their spot.
Yeah.
And that's still going on because they sold that car until 2015. So there's still allocations that were credited to these people in 10 years ago, and they're still taking them and flipping them. And I know people that come to me and they go, Matt, I got the allocation for the new GT4 RS. I don't really think I want it. But should I take it or should I
Wow.
sell my allocation?
Yeah.
I go, if you don't want it, how about you just don't buy it? And they go, what? But if I don't get it, then I might not get the next allocation.
Yep.
They're addicted to the allocation. They don't even
want
notice
the
the car.
car.
If the car doesn't even, for so many people, this would be the dream car of dream cars.
Right.
These
And
guys
you're
are
taking that
just
away.
addicted
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
allocation.
That's
Yeah.
brilliant marketing.
Go
We
Porsche.
could use some of that.
Yep. It happened, it happened in like 2005 to 2009 with Ferrari. Ferrari, their dealers were not allowed to do ADM, additional dealer markup on their cars. So what Ferrari would do is they'd withhold allocations. And they'd go, okay, we'll let you order this new 599, but only if you buy this used car from us now. And when your new car comes in, we'll buy your used car back. And so they'll give you that car for
Interesting.
MSRP, but they'll hose you on the buyback of the used car.
Got it.
Or some certain dealers will sell the car at MSRP, but if the customer doesn't really want the car, they just wanted the allocation, the dealer will then buy the car back for like $50K over. So the guy makes $50K on his allocation, and then they'll sell it as a used car because there's no restrictions on that.
Oh,
So
yes.
then it'll be
And
100K over.
100,000 over,
So now the
yeah.
customer and the dealer are in cahoots to scam the next guy gaming the rules of the OEM.
We've heard with Fords and stuff, that's been happening too with Broncos or
Well,
Raptors.
Ford dealers are allowed to put ADM on the cars.
Yep.
So the Ford dealers and most dealers will just do it themselves. They'll allocate, yes, but then maybe they'll put 50 or 100 on the hood.
But some people have been doing it as a used car too.
Yeah.
They have been doing what you're talking about.
Sure.
I've been hearing about that as well.
Yeah,
So,
and I mean,
yeah.
look, on the one hand, what we're seeing is the exact same economic system that allowed us to beat up dealers for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
For the last 20 years, it's been us negotiating down. Now supply is low, demand is high, and they get to negotiate up. It's the same system.
Sure.
And even if you look
Yeah.
at Tesla, which has no dealers and no middlemen, Tesla just adjusts their MSRP.
Yeah.
Literally
within days.
Yeah, they're just changing it.
just-
You're
yeah.
like, oh, well, this should be more like Tesla, where you just click and buy, and that's the price. It's
Yeah.
like, bro, the price is $5,000 more or less than it was yesterday. It's
Yep.
the same system. It's just you just don't have to speak to a dealer.
Yeah.
But what you're paying, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, is it right? I don't know. But it's funny to me how many people bring up allocations because they're somewhere
He brought it
between,
up first. He brought it up
no,
first.
they're somewhere between gold bars and heroin. It's got so much.
I saw your little
Yeah. It's got so much. It's free money if you've got one.
Yeah.
You
Like you
know?
said, people are addicted to that. It's not the
And they're
cars
addicted
that
to
are
the access.
Yeah.
And they'll buy a car they don't want.
Yeah.
Just so they don't get kicked out of the club.
Got it.
It's crazy.
That club ain't for me.
It's crazy.
It's a lot of money.
I mean, look,
yeah.
my Porsche came
haven't
from
got
New
to
Jersey.
that club yet, huh?
I couldn't get an allocation in Los Angeles. My Porsche came from Jersey. And I shipped it across over here. Shout out to Town Porsche, Englewood, New Jersey. Shout out to them. Get me that allocation. But you gotta have that purchase history.
Yeah.
But it sucks. But like, a lot of people will complain about the system and conveniently ignore the fact that for the last 20 years they were bragging about, I got $8,000 off on my newest, whatever.
Yeah.
This is the same system. It's just going the other way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
That's what the S stands for in MSRP is suggested.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, this has been fascinating. I could sit and talk to you for days.
I have a podcast that you can listen to me for literally days. Talk
for
about
at
this
least an
and
hour and
other,
42 minutes.
to your
this
radio.
and more.
Feel like you're part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So if people want to find you, they find you on YouTube, The Smoking Tire.
The Smoking Tire is everything Instagram, X, and if you want, you can. The podcast is the Smoking Tire Podcast, but you can also watch that on YouTube. It's the Smoking Tire Podcast is the name of the channel.
That's awesome.
And we have a Patreon if you want to. You want to go straight to it.
Support.
Go straight to it.
And what do you get on Patreon? Come
Maybe
on.
need some allocations.
Ad-free videos, ad-free podcasts. You get the podcast the day it's recorded instead of the Tuesday, Thursday release schedule. You can ask us questions for the show that we will answer on the air. You get an extra episode every month just for the patrons. And you can get exclusive access to merch drops.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
It's the first time I've ever used the word drops. I hate the word
Yes.
drops. But
Right here.
Oh my gosh.
if we're not talking about rain, there'll be no drops.
Oh my gosh. You guys, I'm
Are we
past.
done?
We're
What?
done.
What?
Are you
kidding?
2:15, baby.
Did we ask enough questions?
Remember when
we
she
ask
said an hour went by and I don't know
I
where it
know,
went?
right?
Well, you just saw
Yeah.
where it went. That's where it goes.
I blinked.
That's where it goes.
Oh my gosh, Matt, Farah, this has been amazing. Thank you for joining us on High Octane Hustle, the podcast. I'm Fastlane Jane,
And I'm Design Muse.
and this was.
Matt. You got to cue me on that. Damn.
It's so much better this way.
Well, and I was gonna
End
say,
it real awkwardly.
Hey guys, I'm Fastlane Jane,
And I'm Design Muse.
and this is High Octane Hustle, and we are bringing you guys an amazing giveaway. Check this out. some Heatwave visuals. Heatwave Visuals has decided to come on board, and we've got some giveaways. What do they have to do, Theresa?
So, to win a pair of glasses like this, you need to follow Heatwave Visual, Auto Revolution, and High Octane Hustle Official. So, leave a comment below, right in this post, and hashtag High Octane Hustle to win your pair of Heatwave glasses.
Visuals. Whoop, whoop.